And we're live.
Now we're live.
And you have to unmute the mic.
Right. Right.
You have to do that, or people can't hear you.
Right. It is helpful.
So,
It is helpful. Oh my. Didn't realize that.
yeah. So if you don't know, this what this looks like. So if you're on the Facebooks, because this is multiple places. If you're on Facebook, you have to go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give StreamYard permission to use your Facebook name. Otherwise, you just come up with Facebook user, and we can't tell who it is because of the software we're using.
But it does, doesn't it?
But it does sound like we hired Jay to make our beats. Yes.
Does sound a lot like something Jay would use.
Oh, it's Peter Duncan.
Oh, Peter. What's up, dude?
I'm guessing the D is Duncan. But yes.
Peter. What's up?
What's up, dude?
Good to see you.
I kind of like that one. It was we chose that because, well, I chose it.
I was gonna say I had nothing to do with
that. I chose it because it was one of the things that YouTube would allow you to put on their site without paying anybody and getting canceled.
So it was royalty free.
So it was royalty free, and I kind of like the beat, so I took it.
Right. Right.
So that's why it is what it is, but I kind of like it. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I do too. I like it too. Good choice. Well done.
He's faceless. Faceless.
Faceless. But not nameless.
But not nameless. But not nameless. So here we are. We're live. This week is all about Pricing 101. We just dropped our podcast on that as well. Wherever you listen to podcasts, it is the Short-Term Rental Authority podcast. I like Castbox. I'm an Android user, so if you're on an iPhone, obviously iTunes, right? Or it's Apple Podcasts now.
Is it?
Yes, it is. They're trying to make it separate from iTunes, but essentially it's iTunes. And then on Android, you have Google Play is the standard because it's Google thing. Android is, but I like a piece of software called Castbox, and that's where I like to listen to my podcast.
Is that an app?
It is an app. Castbox, Castbox, and I like to listen to my podcast there. But wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find our podcast from this week, and it is on pricing, which is what this is all about. And there's a ton more on there.
Yeah. So we've got tonight. What we thought we would talk about is to
Quinny's like, get on topic.
Expand a little bit about what we talked about on the podcast, because we get asked questions about pricing all the time. So why don't we just lay out some basics? This is Pricing 101.
It is Pricing 101, yes.
And so this is how to get started in pricing, because one of the things that we have learned is that pricing is one of the hardest things to do in this business.
I want to say it is. Yeah, it's a science, but it's also an art, and you have to study what's going on in your business, in your market.
Look how cute. Look how cute. Look, he's got a little sweater.
Yes, this is Rocky. He is in the holiday season, obviously. And Rocky is a Chinese crested powder puff.
Look, it says Santa Paws is coming to town.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
What do you think, Rocky do, Doc? What do you think?
But this dog has no limits.
No.
And he has no price.
No.
He is priceless.
Wait, just sit right here for a second.
No, he's not going to sit still. That's not his MO, man. He's like, let me put my tongue in your mouth. That's basically what he wants to do.
Oh,
he likes to lick.
He does. He's so sweet.
He is very sweet.
He's not ours.
No, this is the neighbor's dog.
Yeah, we have friends.
So after this live, we're going to go play spades.
Yes, we love to play cards.
Because it is the holiday season. And
okay. Oh,
believe it or not, we actually have friends.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that happened, but okay, we do. And we're going to go play the spades because that's what we do.
So what we thought we would talk about is Pricing 101. This is how you get started and the numbers to know and why you need to know them. And one of the things that we had to learn was that it was important to use a pricing tool. And the pricing tool that we use is Price Labs. There's others out there like Wheelhouse and whatever the other ones are.
Beyond Pricing is
There you
another
go.
one.
Whatever they
There are
are.
actually a ton of them out there. If you do some research, there's a ton of pricing tools. It's not the tool so much. So I would tell you that, use the tool that you like to use, but it's kind of like buying, any other kind of tool. Like I just bought new golf clubs because I got into golf. I like to play golf. I just bought new golf clubs. That's a tool. But can you use the tool expertly? And just buying a new tool doesn't mean you're any better at golf. I can
Right.
tell you that from personal experience. It can help, but at the same time, you actually have to be decent swinging the golf club, right? Like you can't just
The whole
you
reason
can't buy yourself into it, right?
that we use a tool is because we want to automate that as much as possible, right?
Yes.
So the thing that we've learned is instead of having your price be, $100 on Monday and $100 on Tuesday and $100 on Wednesday, and maybe you
On the weekends,
bump
it's
it up to like
150,
150 or something,
right?
whatever.
Okay.
So instead of doing that, we use dynamic pricing, which means that the price changes every night. And the software can do that for you. And the cool part about that is that it's all automated, but the software knows about your market. It knows about the seasonality of your market. It knows about tent pole events like Garth Brooks concert is coming into town, or the NAACP is coming into town to play some basketball. Or
the NAACP?
Oh, is that not?
You mean the NAA?
The NAA. Right. That's what
NAACP is something entirely different
Oh,
than
whoops.
NCAA is
I
what
meant-
you were trying to
That's
say.
what I meant. I meant the NCAA.
That's funny.
That's what I meant. Or the big football games coming into town. The Panthers are coming to play, even though they suck. Nobody really goes to the games, but the pricing software knows all that, and it can raise your prices automatically or lower your prices automatically, and all you have to do is just feed it some numbers, right? But it's not one of those set it and forget it type things. So that's why we said that it's important to know your numbers, and you got to know what numbers you need to know, right? So that's what I thought that we would talk about tonight. So
Okay.
let's talk first about the numbers that you need to know. And the first one is you need to know how low you can go.
Yeah, that seems kind of counterintuitive, actually, but that's the number that's important. So as Wendy mentioned, the tool itself is going to catch, and what it's really looking at is looking at demand. It's looking at seasonality. It's looking at a variety of factors, what you historically were able to get over time, because it will learn that as it knows your listing. It says, okay, traditionally on a December 4th, this is your price, right? And it will kind of optimize for that. What it doesn't know is what your expenses are. It doesn't know what does this place cost you. And here's a rule of thumb. So get a notepad out, write this down, or put it in the comments so it's there. What you need to know is, what do I need to make to break even? Like, we call this our Warren Buffett number.
Don't lose money.
Because Warren Buffett's number one rule is don't lose money. So the number one rule is don't lose money. So if I'm not going to lose money, I need to know, what does this place cost me? And more particularly, I need to know, what does this place cost me on a per night basis? Right. So how do I arrive at that number? Well, you take everything that's an expense for that house, apartment, we'll just call it a unit for lack of a better word. Whatever it costs you to have that unit on a per month basis, if nobody stayed there. So I'm excluding cleaning fees because nobody stays there. There's no cleaning. I'm excluding, anything that is supplies because nobody stays there. No supplies. But if I still have to pay rent, I still have to pay my mortgage, I still have to pay utilities, I still have to pay insurance, I'm still paying for the pricing software, right? I'm still paying for whatever I'm paying for. There are a certain number of things that are fixed expenses. And for me, as someone who went to school partially as an accountant and a business major, I know that utilities are not traditionally a fixed expense because they're variable. Sometimes your electric is more, sometimes it's less. But for the purposes of pricing, you want to treat that as a fixed expense in this business because you don't turn off the electric if nobody stays there. So that's an important number to know. If you have those real numbers, you should use those real numbers and take whatever that is on a monthly basis, the average over 12 months, and divide that by 30 because that's the number of days on average in a month. Some months are 28, some are 30, some are 31. We're just going to average it and say, okay, a month is 30. So if this place cost me, say, $2,000, I'm going to divide that by 30. And what it's going to do is it's going to tell me now which each day costs me. That's my minimum. So, and that's important to know because the pricing tool is going to ask you, well, what's your minimum? And you need to have a rational reason and rhyme to what my minimum is. And it shouldn't be, I feel like my place is worth this.
Right.
And if I feel like if I don't charge at least this, then I'm going to get bad guests. Right. That's a function of your screening and your other processes that you have in place, if that's actually a concern. But you need to know, and especially during this time of year, for most of us, there's some markets where this is actually high season. Right. We talked about that earlier. And if you're in Phoenix, Arizona, you're actually in your high season. But if you're in most of the country in the United States anyway, this is low season for you to a certain degree. And this is the time of the year where we turn to pricing. And that may be why you're tuning in. Because we tend to think, oh, well, I need to adjust my pricing so I can get people in there because I don't know how I'm going to make rent or I don't know how I'm going to make my mortgage. And I'm not making as much as I make in July. And no kidding, it's December. Right. So what do we do with that? And the first place you start with is, what does this night cost me? Because I can go that low and break even and not lose money. Remember the first rule?
Don't lose money.
The problem with doing it that way and dividing by 30 turns out to be that, well, there's this thing called vacancy.
Right. Unless you're in a 30-day market. But you should.
But even if you're a 30-day market, there's vacancy.
Yeah.
There's going to be vacancy.
For sure.
It's unrealistic to say as soon as someone checks out, the next person's checking in. We would like that to happen, but it's not reality. So you have to build in some kind of vacancy. And so what we do and what we were taught to do is build in 15% vacancy, which means that, okay, now we're talking about 85% of a month because we're planning that 15% is going to be vacant. So what's 85% of a month? Well, 85% of 30 is 25 and a half. I know you can't sell half a day, but that's the math. And so now I'm going to take those expenses and instead of dividing them by 30, I'm going to divide them by 25 and a half. And you may have to adjust that, by the way, because not every market is an 85% market. Some of them are 60, some of them are 70. And what I'm looking for is the average over a year, not a month, but over a year, and saying what's the average occupancy that I've either experienced or that I can market research and say happens, and I'm going to divide my expenses by that. And now I know what my minimum is. And every pricing tool that we mentioned, Price Labs, Wheelhouse, Beyond Pricing, you name it, they're going to ask you, what's the minimum? Because no matter what they calculate, they're not going to go below the minimum for a day. And keep in mind, it's calculating a price for each day of the month or each day of the year, I should say, because it goes for a whole year. Right? So tomorrow's a price, the next day is a price, the next day is a price, and every day those all adjust and recalculate. Right? So I need to be able to tell it what's my minimum.
Right. And so you're basically telling it, hey, Price Labs, hey, Wheelhouse, hey, listen, don't go below this price right here. This is the bottom line.
because that's what they cost me.
Right.
Right. Because I don't want to lose the money. Because remember, I look at pricing as bananas on a shelf. So it's kind of like when you go to the grocery store and you see these bananas laid out, or fruit. I like use bananas as an example. But there's some point where they're overripe and they expire. And once they're rotten, you can't sell them. So if they expire today, I can't sell them tomorrow. So I might as well sell them at cost. And I might even consider selling them below cost, because while I would like to not lose money,
I'd rather lose $25 than $50.
yes. So if I calculate that, hey, a day cost me $75 and today it's vacant, why not sell it for $25?
Right.
Because I'd rather lose 50 in this case, 75 minus 25 versus losing the whole 75.
Right.
Right. And then I may just find somebody that's our daughter in the background. Almost looks like she didn't wear her pants.
She's wearing pants.
She's wearing shorts under there, just so you know. But that's the philosophy. Know how low you can go, and don't be afraid to go there and sell those.
A lot of people are. A lot of people are afraid to go there.
They're afraid to go there.
Why? What kind of guest am I going to get if I sell this for like $50 a night?
That's true. And we just did this like recently.
Yes, you did.
So I had some gaps in the calendar.
You got it sold too.
I would show it to you if I could, if I figure out how to share. But I had gaps in the calendar. And I decided, well, I'd rather sell them than not, because it's this week before Christmas. So it's just knowing my market and knowing that the Christmas bookings that I have gotten already and New Year's bookings I've gotten already have happened, and it's slim pickings between now and the weekend if I haven't sold it already. So I mark these places down. They normally go for upwards of 120, 140, 150 bucks. Marked them down to 59 bucks, $59. Because I would rather get the $59. And I know that these places actually cost me a little more than that. Actually, they cost us more, like 69, 70 bucks a night.
Yeah, that's true.
But I would rather sell them for 59 than not sell them at all. And they brought a pet, which was an extra pet fee, and they brought extra guests. So I got an extra guest fee, and they asked for an early check-in.
And we make money on cleaning.
And we made money on the cleaning. So was it priced below cost? Yes. Do we make that up in fees? Yes. Yes, we did.
Yes.
And we sold days that normally would have sat vacant.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
So a lot of times it's being willing to do that. And these people, their situation turned out to be that they were flying out of Charlotte, and the flight they were supposed to be on got canceled or rebooked or rearranged somehow, and they needed an extra 2-3 nights. And they took our place because I'm guessing because it was the cheaper option in the area. Okay. And we got the booking. So it was it great? No, it was an extra $300, but it's $300 we didn't lose. Right. And we actually made a little money on it. So a lot of times it's knowing how low you can go. So I feel like Are
y'all leaving? Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye now. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
Said enough about
Bye,
it.
Rocky.
So that was our break-even point, knowing your numbers, using a pricing tool.
Right.
Anything else you want to say about that?
Well, you know what? I think there's a lot of people out there who are saying, well, you know, why would you do that? Aren't you concerned about the type of person that you're going to get if you're only selling it for 59 so low, right? And you alluded to this earlier, but they still go through the exact same vetting process as everybody else. There's no difference. And I think what you have to remember is, even, yes, it may attract some guests that you wouldn't necessarily um, uh, are trying to market to, but keep in mind that the people that are willing to jump through the hoops that you're making them jump through, those are really the guests that you want. And the people who are not willing to jump through those hoops, those are not the guests that you want. So just make sure that you have hoops that people have to jump through. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel like you should expand on that, because you've given, and they're like, what are you talking about?
Okay. So for example, if I don't care when it is, everybody has to go through the exact same vetting process. So number one, the very first thing that we do is we ask people, why are you coming to the area? So if they can give us a pretty good answer, well, I'm coming to visit my grandkids, or these people, their flight got delayed. They were flying into someplace, and that flight got delayed, and they're going to stay here for a couple of extra days. Great. Now we know why they're coming, right? So that's the first thing, and we do that in our messaging, and that's automated. Everybody gets the same message every single time, and we always ask them, well, why are you coming? So
some of that's your spidey sense, though,
they tell
isn't
us, oh yeah, that's very
so
true.
You're kind of
Some people
evaluating.
Well, you can always tell.
Do they speak in complete sentences? Is there a
right.
reason that they
do
don't?
They write you, like the letter U, instead of spelling out YOU? Right.
Yeah, it could be stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just kind of
get
you get
used
an
to that.
idea
Mhm.
a lot of times after you've been doing it a while of who's
Yeah.
BSing and who's legitimate, but still people can slip through because people are smart,
That's true.
right?
That's
So
true.
don't just rely on that. The next step is, okay, well, you have to sign a rental agreement with us, and we need a copy of your government issued photo ID so that we can run your background check. Right. And we're very upfront about all of that.
Oh yeah, that is splattered everywhere.
It's splattered everywhere.
It's
so
all over the listing. It's all over all the automated messages. So it should not come to a surprise, to anybody's surprise, that they have to sign the guest confirmation agreement and upload a copy of their photo ID.
Right. And that's your screening up front. And then once they arrive, there's, okay, you've got the doorbell camera. We've told you to do that a million times. Right. And you've got noise aware in there, so you know if it's loud. Right. And you have these systems that mesh together, and because they all work together. This is about pricing, but see how pricing and those other things go together, how you can be comfortable getting to your minimum, because you have these screening processes in place, and then beyond that you have monitoring processes in place.
Right. So it's not just, hey, give me your photo ID and sign this agreement, and that's the end of it.
And it's not just throw it down to $59 and hope for the best either.
That's not the way it works.
That's not the way any of that works. It all works together.
Yes.
So that you can be comfortable, because
Yes.
How many of you have said, well, I don't really want to invest in Vivint and like all this other stuff, and then have to have noise aware and like pay for that. And then, I don't really want to do these guest agreements because I feel like they'll turn people off. And then because of that, because you don't have any of those things in place, I don't mean to be judging you. I'm just trying to help you. You're afraid to put it down to $59. Because if they come and you've charged them $59, you have no way of knowing.
Yep.
They could trash your place, steal all your shit. Steal all your stuff, right?
It's your life. You can do
and you're done. and they're going to damage your place. And the reason you're afraid of that is because you don't have the systems and processes in place to do that.
Yep, that's exactly right.
So please come let us help you with that, because one of our missions actually is not just to sit here and, we have our business, we do our thing. We don't have to do the lives. We do them because we genuinely want to help other people.
Yeah, I mean that's
why we say that.
That's the whole mission of this podcast, this short-term rental authority business that we have, is to help make you
the best operator ever. And we say that on
because
purpose. Yeah.
There's a lack of competent operators out there. Anybody can go watch a YouTube video on how to set up an Airbnb and put stuff on set up their Airbnb listing and be like, oh, I'm going to make millions, right? But hardly anybody tells you actually how to operate. What do you do next? I've got this listing. What do I do now? How do I make it profitable? And how do I operate efficiently, effectively, and profitably? And that's why we are here, to help you be that best operator we know that you can be. So let us help you.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of those pricing questions come this time of year because that's the only lever you got. And you feel like, oh, well, it must be something with my pricing. What do I do with my pricing?
Right.
And then I do a listing review. I was talking to somebody this week, actually, and we were going through her listing, and it was, the purpose of the call was, hey, I need help with pricing. And by the way, I'll just put this up here. Hey, if you want to have one of these calls with me or Wendy, we'd love to do it with you. We do charge for it. It's not free, but it's going to make you more money than it's going to cost you. I guarantee you that, or I'll give you money back. We're not here to be gurus and try to get you cash. We're trying to help you.
No, because the more competent operators there are out there, the easier it is for all of us.
The easier it is for all of us.
Yes.
And I'll help you if you're in the same building with me.
Yes.
I don't care, because I think it's better that a rising tide lifts all boats, does it not?
That's so good. I love that expression.
Well, I didn't make it up, obviously.
I know, but I really like it.
But it's true. It's true.
Yes.
Right. And so if I can help you, I will help you. I have to compensate for our time.
We have children.
Because we have children.
Look at these animals.
When you spent way too much on Christmas,
I did.
Which we're having a conversation
It's
about.
true.
But it always happens. It's our favorite holiday. It's fine.
It is.
It is what it is. All those kind of things. So if you want to support us, great. But I guarantee you that you'll get more out of it than you'll be paying. And I just talked to somebody this week. That's how that started. And basically it was like, hey, can you help me with my pricing? Right. And it turns out that the problem wasn't pricing. Their problem was their listing. It's like, I still got cell phone photos. Well, why do you still have cell phone photos? Well, I don't feel like I can afford a photographer. Okay. And by the way, I've got booked just fine during the summer with these same photos. Like, why do I need that? There must be something wrong with my pricing.
No.
Help me with my pricing. I'm like, your pricing's fine. It's actually low for your market. Your problem is that your listing is jacked up. And in the summer, when there was tons of demand, you still got booked. You just didn't realize that you were getting booked after the good property.
Right.
You were what was left over.
Because there was so much demand.
Because there was so much demand. But in this slower period, in December, January, February for us,
in the low demand times,
the people can afford to be choosier.
Yep.
Because there's less demand, there's more properties on the market. And then what they'll start to do is the best properties with the best photos, the best descriptions, the best marketing, and the optimal pricing will get booked first.
Yep. And that's why you want to be the best. And that's why we are here to help you be the best.
Right. But the end of my sentence was, sometimes there's nothing left over. And then you're the guy sitting there or gal sitting there saying, I'm empty. I don't have, how am I going to make expenses this month?
Yeah.
Right. And it's because there were no leftovers. And it's hard to fix now, but you can fix it going forward. And a lot of that can be optimizing your pricing, because I think that's a big part of it. It's a trifecta. It's pricing, it's your marketing, which a lot of that is your photos, because we're just visual people, photos and listing. And the third part of that is your design. And that's where a Wendy comes in.
Right.
You need really good design.
Tyree and Genesis have really great design.
They do.
They have some really great design.
Yeah. So if you don't know, Tyree and Genesis are
They're out in Seattle.
they're out in Seattle.
Yeah.
They're kind of awesome
Kind of awesome.
people that we've coached in the past, and they made the investment in a really good designer.
Yes, they did.
It wasn't even Wendy.
No, it wasn't me.
It was
No, it was
they used
LaTanya.
LaTanya
Mhm.
Keys.
Yep. And she's fantastic.
So
She's
also-
out in California. But your units look amazing.
They look
But you
amazing.
did it.
They got good photography.
Yes.
And I remember being on a coaching call with them. We tweaked their listing a little bit on that particular one.
Yep.
And that's all it took, because they had the other two pieces in place.
Yep.
And pricing. And they're in a 30-day market. So when we say that, they're in a market where Airbnb is banned, right? Put that in air quotes, because I guarantee you they're an Airbnb, but they have to sell 30 days at a time. So that's the restriction. But they, as far as I know, are doing okay with it. Michael and Jocelyn,
Oh,
another of my favorite people. How do you avoid bet? I
Oh,
think we just
we
answered that
did.
question.
We did just answer that.
So the gist of it is, you got to have all the pieces in place. So you have to have your screening process in place. You have to have your security and safety in place, and you have to be monitoring that stuff. Right. So a lot of it is your screening up front, right? And then the other piece, you know this already.
Oh, yes, you do.
You know this piece already. And if you haven't implemented all those pieces, that's why that ends up being why it's stressful to have
Mhm.
lower prices,
Lower
because you're
prices.
afraid of those bad guests,
Right.
because
You don't feel like you have the means to, what's the word I'm looking for?
deal with it
Deal with
or
it.
detect
Yeah.
it or
I think deal with it.
screen
Yeah.
for it and all
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we do now, that since we've talked last, we require a signed rental agreement. We require a photo ID, government issue photo ID, and we require a background check no matter where you come from.
Even Airbnb.
So you could come through Airbnb, you could come through Vrbo, you could come direct, you could come through booking.com, you could come through travel. I don't care where you came from. You go through the same process, and that process itself is, and I think this is something interesting to talk about, is that people always ask me, well, what does my guest agreement need to have in it? It's not so much that, really, it's that they're willing to do it.
Right. And that's what I'm talking about when I say jump through the hoops.
And it's jump through the hoops. Are they willing
Are they
to go
even
through?
willing to go do that?
Because generally that's a heavy screening tool.
Yes.
Someone who's willing to go through and give me their ID and
Yes.
sign this agreement
Yes.
and all these other things.
They are much less likely to F up your place.
Yeah. Because now it's like, okay, I'll just move to the person that doesn't
Right.
require that
Right.
stuff.
Right.
And also is listed at $59.
Right.
Right. Or whatever's low.
Yes. Make them jump through hoops.
No worries.
Yeah.
It is live, so it does get recorded on Facebook and YouTube, so you can go back and watch
Is
it.
there such a thing as going too low? Well, I don't know if I would sell it for $10,
I would.
but John probably would.
I would. So is there such a thing as going too low?
That's really-
Conceptually, no, actually.
That's a good question.
So here's an example where I can make that true. I can make this coming Monday, right after
Mhm.
Christmas, I can make that a $5 night. Sounds really low, right? But I can also require a 10-night minimum,
Ooh.
and everything else is at normal price. So am I too low? Probably not. I mean, maybe I am. Maybe I could have charged 10
All
and
right.
still gotten it. Maybe I should have could have charged 20. So too low is, yes, you can be underpriced. That is true. You can be underpriced, but I don't think that's really the question you were asking. So a lot of that's where I say there's an art and a science to it. Sometimes and it's like that example I gave earlier. I marked some nights this week down to $59, but also made them 3-night minimums. And I still have my cleaning fee, and I still have my extra guest fee, right? And I still have those other things in place, and they still got to sign my agreement, and they still have to give me their ID, and they're still getting a background check, and I'm still watching them on the cameras.
Well, the customer experience specialist is watching them on the
Right.
calendar.
But that's how you get a legitimate booking, even if it's a quote too low price, right?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because what I'm really trying to do is defend the profit I already have.
We talked a lot about that on the podcast.
We did. So go watch or
Yeah.
listen to the podcast this week.
That was a really good podcast.
We do talk a lot about that in depth.
Defending your profit, because that's an interesting mindset.
It is a mindset.
It is. It's a mindset shift,
and you have to be aware of that.
That a lot of people aren't even aware of having, is thinking about your business as like in 12-month terms, right? And it's not just nightly rate or even, hey, what am I getting this month? It's thinking of it and in a 12-month term time frame. And as you know, and as you operate, you will notice seasonality in your own market, and you can do that research before you even get started too, right? So in our market, January sucks ass, and then February is a little bit better, March is a little bit better, April's a little bit better, April, May, June, July, that's our high season. And then in August, September goes back down, October, November, December, again, probably not as high, but the seasonality goes like this. And we know that we're going to make the bulk of our money probably in May, June, July. So now for the rest of the year, we got to protect that profit, just like you were saying.
Yeah, and you can do that on that scale, because you should be looking at it on the yearly scale, but you can also look at it in terms of the month I'm in. So one of the things I look at, especially because I'm not looking at it on a per unit basis per se, I'm looking at it on a broader level. So I'm looking at the whole portfolio and I'm saying, okay, whatever our projected expenses this month, because they're pretty consistent, and then what have we brought in revenue so far, or what's on the books? Meaning what's already happened, what's coming, what's upcoming. We've got these bookings coming. What are those payouts going to be, right? And then I know, okay, how close are we to our goal? Have we at least broken even? What am I trying to get? And then now I can just, if I've, for example, made my profit for the month already with the bookings that I have, I can mark everything else at like $5, right. and it's a net gain.
Right.
Because it's just more, it's just cherry on the pie. It's more than, and I'm not worried about what the price is really. I'm just trying to get what I can get at that point.
Right.
Right.
So you're like, how low can I go?
It depends on where you are currently. Right. So that's a really good point.
Right.
All right. We're coming up on.
Oh, Tyree asked a question. I think I don't have my glasses on.
It was Michael and Jocelyn actually had a question first.
Okay.
He said, "I'll look at that. I know this lie about pricing. Have you heard of Super Hog as a way of having insurance?" I have looked into it. Yes. I would be. Here's the advice I would give you. I'd be very careful about what they actually cover, because it's always compared to what. Right. We have a common mentor in that. Compared to what is always the question. And are they, because here's the things I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up loss of business income. I don't
Gotcha,
want to give
proper
up
does. Mhm.
bed bug coverage. I don't want to give up eviction coverage. If I have a squatter, and I have that with the insurance I have now, right? So it's not to me so much about damage. It's those other things that I'm concerned about. If you ever get a bed bug claim, that's expensive, especially in an
Mhm.
apartment building, because
Mhm.
they don't treat just your unit; they
Right.
treat yours and the ones around it, and that can be expensive. So I want coverage for that, and then the other two things I mentioned. I like the idea that, hey, the pipes break and I had this 3-month booking coming and I couldn't take them. Now I've got an insurance claim. Or just for marketing purposes, it's a great thing to say, hey, if somebody squats in my unit and refuses to leave, I have insurance that will pay to get them out. That's an important thing to have. So if Superhawk does that, great. Don't think they do, but if they do, great. That's a possible thing. And I will say some of those nightly rate, because we have Safely as well that we use for our background checks, and they do offer insurance, but it's $8 a night, and it actually ends up being more expensive than Proper, and Proper is better insurance. So we still recommend Proper as far as insurance goes. Tyree says, can you remind us where we can find your podcast, please? What you're looking for is the Short-Term Rental Authority podcast. You can literally Google it, or you can go to Apple iTunes and Google it, or you don't Google Apple iTunes. You know what I mean? Search for it. It's everywhere that podcasts are. Google Play. I use an app called Castbox. There's tons of places to listen to podcasts, but it's the Short-Term Rental Authority podcast. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, go check it out.
Everywhere podcasts are streamed. We're even on Spotify, believe it or not.
Podcast.
So if you like Spotify, go to Spotify. You can find it. Or on YouTube. We actually do it live on YouTube. It's the Short-Term Rental Authority on YouTube.
I've tried searching the Short-Term Rental Authority on YouTube, and we're like way on down in the list.
Well, it depends on how you search for it, because that is a thing. Like if you go to YouTube and you search for Short-Term Rental Authority,
Yeah.
but
if you don't put any spaces in between the words,
right, if you put it all together,
if you put all the words together, then we will show up.
Well, that's because that's the name of the channel.
Yeah, right. We're like the very first one. So just if you do that search on YouTube, then put it all together. Don't put any spaces.
There you go. I'll put it in the.
Oh, that's a good idea. How do you do that? Oh.
So you just create a banner, is what it's called, and you just put that right there.
Oh, look at that.
And say add banner, and then you can show it just like that. So if you want the direct link, you can go to it that way.
Oh, there you go.
Find us on YouTube.
Nicely done.
Wendy wore her ugly Christmas sweater.
I did.
The episode before last.
Yeah.
I think I wore mine on the last one, or the one before that. But anyway, we had our holiday episode.
Yes. Right.
So you get our visual, not just the audio. But if you're driving around, yeah, definitely listen to audio. Works either way.
Yeah, go check it out.
And like and subscribe. I'm supposed to say that.
Yes.
You gotta like and subscribe, because that's the thing to do.
No, right. Yes.
Yeah. And then you won't have to search for it. It just pops up. Say, hey, John and Wendy are live, or John and Wendy dropped the podcast or a video or whatever. We do a lot of things over there.
Did you want to talk about Charmaline and Christine's question they asked in the community?
Oh, they sure did. That was a whole separate thing.
Right. I don't think it was about pricing, was it?
See, now I can't say no. I don't really want to talk about it because now I got to bring it up. But okay, let's bring that up. So we did answer this in the community. So if you're not part of our community, that's actually the Cashflow Couple community on Facebook. So it's facebook.com/groups/ the Cashflow Couple community. But they said we received an inquiry from CRS, their insurance placement company. They're like Ailey.
They're like Ailey. Got it.
For a 7-month stay for its client, displaced family, wanting to pay month by month by check.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right. They purport to be a temporary housing provider. They are. They're legit. Who works with insurance companies. They sure do. anyone's familiar with you, would love to know about your experience. So we did respond to that and said, hey, hadn't had experience with them directly. I do know they exist. I think they're legit. We've worked with other ones. And she said, interested in whether folks accept payment by check from such companies, whether you run their clients through background checks. Yes and yes. Thanks also. So I'd be a part of this community. So that was in the Facebook community. Yeah, we have. Not from CRS specifically, but from another insurance placement company. We sure have. We've accepted checks from them, and they came FedEx early, overnight.
No, the only problem
Mobile
is
deposit.
you have to. Well, that's true. If you have mobile deposit,
Who doesn't?
you can do that.
Right.
That's
So I
true.
did accept their check. Is it ideal? No. Like if you press them, I know that they will pay you different ways. They're going to ask you to pay by check, but they will pay by card if you want them to, if you really press the issue. And the other thing to know is they're not really the ones making the final decision either. It's the people staying there. So they will work with you as far as payment method goes. But my philosophy was
Make it as
easy for them to give me money as possible.
for them to give you money, because I just keep upping the price every time I get one of those, and I still no, they haven't said no.
Right. So then insurance is great niche to get, and yes, I will accept their check.
Yes, I will. I will take your money.
I will take their money.
No problem.
Every single
But they
time.
still, the people that are staying there still have to sign the guest agreement. They still have to give us their photo ID. They still have a background check, right? They still get put through the exact same system. So
For sure. Michael then said, I use them. I meant super for guest verification. I have not used. I know they exist. I know it's a thing we use safely. I have not used Superhog. So this is a great time for me to say I do not know. I do not know the answer, which I think is an important thing to be able to say sometimes.
Superhog.
Right. But I do.
Safely's great.
I'm aware of them, but we have a product that we use and it's fine.
It's like $8 a pull.
Yeah, Safely is $8 a verification, so it's relatively cheap.
And you know what else I like about Safely is I wish I had a referral link, because it's cool, because if there's a guest that doesn't pass the background screening, they will actually help you get rid of that guest, like give you verbiage to use and everything. I really like that.
That's true. I do like them.
I like that about that type of company, that they're willing to do that for you.
So I'm thinking this is Charlene or Christine or both, but they said they didn't end up getting the bookings to CRS, but it was a great learning experience, and now we're working on adding all of our San Diego parties to our database.
There you go.
And may I please introduce you to Tyree, who is in a 30-day market. So San Diego is about to go 30-day at some point, and they keep pushing it back. But Tyree apparently has had experience with them. So
Tyree and Genesis are in Seattle.
They're on the West Coast with you.
Mm-hmm.
Charlene and Christine are down in San Diego area, and I believe that they have some units out in Oklahoma as well. But that's where they're based, San Diego. So that's good feedback. Thanks, Tyree.
Yeah, that if you have a specific rep like we do with ALE Solutions, then we would love to know their contact info. I'm sure Charmalee and Christine would love to know that, because that's one of the things that we do with ALE. It's like, and it's actually one of the things that's on our list of things to do this coming beginning of the month, is because this is our slow season. We will actually reach out to those insurance companies like CRS and ALE Solutions, and just kind of touch the rep that we have a relationship with, because that's really what it's about, right? So every time this rep thinks about Charlotte, North Carolina, she automatically thinks about me, because I touch her so much. Like, hey, whatever her name is, hey, we've got some availability. We've got these 2 properties available. Let us know if you need anything. and it's every once in a while we'll just touch them.
Yeah, you want to be top of mind because
Yeah.
they don't have to go to that database.
Right.
they're-
They don't.
Their total mission is to
That's true.
find a place that their client wants to be in because
Mhm.
that's how they make their money
And we
Right.
will actually let them walk through the property
and know that they're going to get a quality place with good service and all of that.
before
Right.
they book. So we
So
will let
that's-
them do
That's
that.
important. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Because they're staying so long. I mean, if they're staying 7 months, then yes, we will let them look at the property before they book.
Yep,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah, because I'm willing to do that. And you could either have your runner meet them out there, or you could meet them out there if you wanted to. Whatever you want to do.
Definitely.
Oh, it is Charmely.
She said, I see it now.
Yeah.
It's Charmely.
Hey,
What's up,
Charmely.
Charmely? So I think we kind of covered it. I don't know if we
Children's.
wanted to say anything other than that. And
The children's.
Emma's
aren't
starting
in
to make
school.
noises. They're not in school until when do they go
I don't know. I need to go get a drink.
back?
I need some wine.
She's 11
Help
and
me
she's going on
get
30.
through the holidays.
Yes.
I think that's what I need.
Yes.
But I think we did cover a really good. That was a really good base on pricing. I feel like that was. Maybe we'll do a pricing 201.
Maybe that's a really good idea. So that's a really great thing. So if you've got additional questions that you thought, hey, we should answer that, or could you be more specific or Pacific? I got a friend that says, could you be more Pacific?
Be more Pacific.
So for you West Coast people, I really like that shirt. I think it's hilarious.
that amuses me.
But yeah, if you've got those kind of questions,
Yeah,
let
put
us
'em
know
in-
because
yeah,
we'll create
put 'em
some
in.
content on it for sure.
Yeah,
And throw it out there.
Well, boy, we would love that. Put it in the community. That way everybody can see the response and learn from it. And then
Yeah,
we'll
sometimes it's not
take
us.
that and-
Like
Yeah,
I'm glad
that's true.
Tyree chimed in and said, "Hey, I've
Yeah.
worked with CRS before."
Yeah, because we haven't.
Right.
Mhm.
It's not a hey, we're here to be top down all the time, right? Like it's a community
It's a
effort.
community.
I'd love to learn what you know because we're all in different markets
Yeah,
and we're
totally.
all going towards similar goals, right? And we're all trying to be the best operators ever.
That's right.
I like
That's
that
why-
tagline.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
So it's like we said, rising tide lifts all boats. But we'll give you everything we have.
Indeed.
And we'll be here
Indeed.
every Wednesday. So
Yeah.
we will be back next Wednesday. I
will be
know it's
back
right
next
after
Yes.
the Christmas break or whatever you celebrate.
But we will be
but
here.
we will be here. So just know that's going to happen.
Yep. And if you have any questions at all, put them in the community. We would love to see if we can help you out.
Yeah, and like and share if you're inclined. That actually will help us get more viewers and more people on here, more people to help, and perhaps more brain power in the room. So
There
that's a
you
good
go.
thing.
That's what I'm talking about. Yep. That's right. I hope everyone has a fantastic holiday season. Whatever holiday you celebrate, I hope that it is memorable and
Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas.
There you go.
Like it. You left out Festivus, but
Festivus.
We'll let that go.
No, have a Festivus on a Kwanzaamas. I love it. I love it. Thanks so much for coming, everybody. We will see you again. We'll see you in the community, and then we'll see you again next Wednesday. Take
Talk to
care.
you guys soon.